Hi, I'm Angela Martin and welcome to another episode of Digicast. Now in this episode we'll be looking at the new features of Notes as well as our Photos application. Now due to the fact that there's only been a few new features on both these applications, I've decided to cover the new features on both these applications within one video. Now let's go into looking at the new features within our Notes application. So let's go into our Notes application. Now for those who have used the previous version of Notes would have noticed some cosmetic as well as functional changes. Now on the cosmetic change, Apple have separated the Notes list column from the Notes location, which makes it even easier for navigational purposes, but also giving us the ability to organize our notes into folders, as the new folder button is now available within the new version. Now on the functional changes, Apple have added additional tools to Notes, which we will look into further as we go through the new version of our Notes application. So as we can see, we're on a new note and the note is still untitled. So I'll give it a title and call it my first note. Now this note is specifically focused on the new features of Notes. So I'll give it in my next sentence, call it the new features of Notes. Now as I can see, as per the previous version, that the text is pretty basic. However, this time around I can add in different styles into my text. So if I take my title, I'll highlight my title, and on my toolbar I've got a style button available, which gives me the ability to add in either a title, heading, or body style. Body style being the selection at the moment, I'll change it to a title style, which is now changed my font size as well as my boldness. The sentence below, I can also change the style to my heading. Then also under my styles button, I've got the ability to add in different lists. So I can add in a bulleted, dashed, or even a numbered list. Now seeing that these features are various features, I'll put them into a different list. And I'll add them into a bulleted list, and I'll specify we've covered the styles, we've looked at lists, and we're going to look at checklist as well as adding objects and viewing notes through the attachments. So now we've got our various new features. We have looked at the styles, the lists, and now we are looking at the checklists. So to demonstrate how the checklists work, I can take this note, highlight the list that we have added in, and I can just click on my checklist button, which will then change my list into a checklist. And the ones that I've covered already is my styles as well as my lists. So the checklist becomes pretty handy for various types of lists that I want to add into my notes. So I can create a new note and call this my shopping list and click on my checklist, specify my items. Because my notes also comes tagged with a date and a time, it gives me an indication in terms of what I've purchased, even with a to-do list, what I've done in a particular date. So the checklist becomes pretty handy. So the next items that we're going to go into, as we have looked at our checklist already, is adding in of objects. Besides adding of text within our notes, we can also add in various objects such as photos, maps, locations, web links, and so on. Now this goes hand in hand with the attachments option. So in our toolbar, there's these 4 little squares button, and this is viewing our notes through the attachments. So if I click on it, it gives me the different options at the top. So we can add in these various objects. Documents and audio, we will drag and drop into a note. Websites and maps, we will add in through the applications. Photos and videos, we can add in within notes, and our sketches we can only access when we have synced our notes within our iOS devices. So let's start off with the photo. So I'm going to click on the attachment button again, and I will create a new note by clicking on the new note, and I'll call this note images. And I'll click on the add photo and video button, and it will take me to my media browser, and I still have my iPhoto library, and I'll click on my Digicape background image file, and I can then take that file and put it into my note. So it will be indicated also as an icon within my note, and I'll just specify it. So I've got an image added in. So now from my maps, I can add in a map location into a note directly from the map application. So if I go into maps and I click on the arrow to point me to my current location, I can click on the share button and click on my notes option. The map location will then be added either into a new note or any of my existing notes. For now, I'll select the new note and I'll save it into that new note. So if I go back into my notes, if I close down my maps, I will see that there is the note called current location, which will then give me my map. The same I can do with my adding in a web link. If I should go to my Safari browser, under my Digicape page, I can also go into my share button, add this into a note, again take me back into the notes, give me the link as well as a short description of that site, and I can click on save, again into a new note, close down my Safari browser, and there I'll see there is my note with my link on it. So I've got my web page, my location, as well as my image. Now the adding of audio, I can drag the audio into a note. So if I should create a new note, I can go into my iTunes and I can take any of the songs within my iTunes and just drag it straight into the note, which will then start playing that song if I should click on that particular attachment within the note. Now adding in a document is the same exercise as adding in audio. So if I should click again on my attachment button, this time around I'm going to add in a new note, but not on my iCloud side, but on my Mac side, which is the notes that I've just added in. So I'll create a new note on here and I'll call it Word document, and I'll go to my Finder and I'll take this tabs docs, which I can drag into a note, and that becomes my attachment within the note. Now adding on of sketches is slightly different, as this is sketches that is done on my iOS device, on my iPad or my iPhone. So for me to see those sketches on my Mac, I need to tie my notes on my Mac to my iCloud notes. So I'll go into my Apple, go to System Preferences, to my iCloud, and seeing that I've got my iCloud added to my Mac already, I can just activate the notes option on my iCloud, and after doing that I'll see that my notes from my iCloud have now also been synced into my notes application. Within my iCloud notes, I've got a few notes that have different sketches in them. So now if I go back into my view attachment option, I'll see that there's my photos, there's my sketches, which has been imported through my iCloud, there's my maps, my website, the audio that I've added in to my attachments. If I go to documents, it shows me my note with my documents. So for me to view all of my notes in terms of the attachments is much easier, which makes it even easier for navigational purposes. And I can also now decide to take these notes and add it into a folder. So if I click on new folder, I'll name this folder into new features. And all I do is I can go into my notes on my Mac, hold my shift key, and then drag all of those notes into my new features folder. So there I'll have all my notes under that specific folder. So that is all the new features within my notes application. Next up, we'll look at the new features within my photos application. Now, as previously mentioned, there were not many new features introduced within the new version of Photos. Now, before we get into showing what new features have been included, let me first change my view to showing my sidebar, basically a view that I prefer working in. Now, within my sidebar, we would notice that there are two new albums being introduced, which is my screenshots and my selfies. Now, these are sections where if I should take any selfies on my iPad or my iPhone, this will be immediately imported into my selfie section as well, which work through my iCloud, as well as screenshots that are done within my iPad or my iPhone will also be included in the section within my photos. An additional new feature, if I should go into my photos library, is now that I've got the ability to edit my location data within my photos. So if I should go into any of my photos here, as we can see, this was taken at the Cape of Good Hope. If I go into the metadata, do a secondary click on my photos, or a right click on my mouse, or 2-finger click on my trackpad, I can go into my get info, and within my get info I can go to my assign location. So under my assign location, I can type in the location where it was taken. So I'll just type in Cape of Good Hope and it will give me the location, and I'll just double click and there I've got the location within my metadata of that photograph. So that is the additional new feature that have been added within my metadata of my photo, within my Photos application. One of the major new features that has also been introduced within the new version is that my photos do come with an extensions option within the editing of a photo. So if I should go into this photo here and I double click to open it in full screen and I click on edit, I'll see that throughout all my tools I also have an extension option. The extensions is where Apple will introduce additional tools as well as plugins into the Photos application in future. So hopefully we'll see that in the App Store we will have additional plugins. So all I need to do is, if I click on my extensions, my more button will open and it will take me to my system preferences under my extensions, where I see there's my photos, and all my extensions will then be placed within this category. So that is the new features within my Photos application. Not so many to talk about, but at least we can see that the application is evolving. So that is all the new features within my El Capitan. Also to mention that with El Capitan, we are not able to do any disk burning. So if you are planning to do any disk burning, it is important that you rather get a third-party software to do that. It's not natively included within the operating system. So that is all from the new features within El Capitan. This is me, Angelo. Hope you have a fantastic day, and goodbye.